Every man is born into a world that seeks to command his emotions, his thoughts, his reactions. But what few realize, what even fewer practice, is that true control never originates in the external world. It begins and ends within the confines of the mind. No other man, no circumstance, no setback, no betrayal, no insult, no chaos has any true power over you unless you relinquish the seat of your mental throne and grant them authority. This is not theory. This is power. When a woman is slighted or misunderstood, and she lets it ruin her entire day, she has not been harmed by the event, but by her decision to dwell on it, to magnify it, to make it personal. She hands over her peace like currency at a counter, exchanging calm for offense. But what if she simply refused the transaction? What if she maintained her position as the gatekeeper of her inner world? Then the slight would pass like a breeze through an open window, felt, acknowledged, and forgotten. You must begin to view your mind as a sacred space, a sovereign land. What enters that space must earn its place. No traveler, no enemy, no fool has a right to reside there unless you swing wide the doors. But most people have no such gate. Their minds are open fields, trampled by the opinions of others, occupied by worry, resentment, fear, and noise, and they wonder why they feel powerless. The man who controls his mind controls his reality. He may not dictate every event, but he controls the interpretation of every event. That power is more than enough. When someone speaks ill of you, ask yourself, do their words define your worth, or does your response define your strength? When you are delayed, frustrated, wronged, ask yourself, is this event controlling me, or am I choosing how to respond? This is not about cold indifference. It is about intelligent detachment. You do not numb yourself to life. You rise above its petty tugs and pulls. You observe. You respond with clarity. You protect the energy that would otherwise be wasted on reaction. Consider this truth. Reaction is weakness. Response is power. The one who reacts is being moved like a puppet. The one who responds is the puppeteer, holding the strings. And this control is cultivated, not inherited. It is built through daily discipline, through watching the mind like a hawk, catching the first sparks of irritation and snuffing them out before they burst into flame. You train the mind by refusing to let it be lazy. You catch yourself mid-thought and ask, is this useful? Is this empowering? Is this worthy of the space it occupies? You become ruthless with your inner world, not because you are harsh, but because you are building something unshakable. There is no dignity in being easily provoked. There is no pride in having a short fuse. The world may have praised speaking your mind or clapping back, but these are the habits of those who have not yet mastered themselves. True strength is silent. It listens without reacting. It understands without agreement. It observes without attachment. And from this place of internal steadiness, you gain a vision of the world that others cannot see. You see the angry man not as an enemy, but as a man who has lost control of himself. You see the rude cashier not as a personal affront, but as someone trapped in their own mental storm. You begin to see that 90% of what people project at you has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the chaos in their own mind. And once you see this, once you truly understand it, how could you ever again hand over your peace for free? How could you be angry at someone who is not even in control of themselves? How could you allow someone's storm to uproot the fortress you've built? But there comes a moment in every person's life when they must make a decision, not a wish, not a vague intention, but a solemn, non-negotiable decision. That decision is this: no one will be granted access to control my inner peace. Not a friend, not a stranger, not a critic, a boss, a partner, or even a family member. No one. Peace of mind is not a gift handed down by the world. It is not something others can give to you, nor is it something they can rightfully take. It is a personal sanctuary, yours to protect, yours to fortify, yours to defend from intruders, both subtle and obvious. And yet, day after day, people casually hand over the keys to this sanctuary. They react to every provocation. They surrender to every insult. They let the emotions, moods, and ignorance of others write the script of their own state of mind. That is not strength. That is emotional dependence. You were not born to be ruled by external conditions. You were not meant to be a puppet pulled by the strings of public opinion, poor treatment, or momentary conflict. Inner peace is not a passive state that comes and goes with the tides. It is a fortress you build by choice, and you do not wait for approval to defend it. Understand this clearly. People will test you. They will misunderstand you. They will speak when they should be silent, and stay silent when you need their voice. They will lash out from their own pain, project their frustrations onto your presence, and treat you as a mirror for their unresolved conflict. But how they act is not your responsibility. How you respond is. And if your inner peace is shaken every time someone else loses theirs, you have not yet made the decision to own your space. The moment you decide that no one has permission to disturb your equilibrium, you rise into a different category of person. You are no longer a reactor, you are a chooser. You do not argue to protect your ego, you remain silent to preserve your power. You do not retaliate for revenge, you disengage for wisdom. And this is not weakness, it is discipline. It takes courage to let someone else remain in chaos while you hold your composure. It takes inner steel to walk away when your pride demands a confrontation. Peace is not passive. It is not the result of avoiding conflict. It is the result of mastering your own triggers. And mastery begins with ownership. If someone's words make you spiral into anger, do not blame their mouth. Ask yourself why you gave those words power. If someone ignores you, gossips about you, challenges you, ask yourself, why did I allow their actions to echo inside my mind? Why does their behavior have such authority over my emotions? That line of questioning leads you to truth. The truth that your reactions are not caused by them, they are permitted by you. Your peace is like a guarded room, and every time you let someone in without purpose, you invite disorder, you invite confusion, you invite their storm into your stillness. And no one has the right to live in your mind rent-free unless you extend the invitation. The person who hurt you cannot hurt you again unless you replay it. The insult they spoke is just sound unless you give it meaning. The slight they delivered is a passing moment unless you feed it with your attention. All discomfort in the mind is a transaction. Someone provides the trigger, and you choose to purchase it with your energy. But you can decline the offer. You can decide the deal is beneath you. You can walk away without carrying the weight of another person's dysfunction. And what happens when you do? What happens when you finally decide that your peace is not up for discussion? You begin to feel untouchable, not in a prideful sense, but in a sovereign sense. You begin to notice that while others waste hours in petty quarrels, you've kept your energy intact. While others sit in frustration over what someone said, you've spent your time building, creating, and growing. While they rehearsed the offense, you've rehearsed your mission. Inner peace is the competitive edge. It is the quality that separates the person who is easily moved from the person who moves with purpose. It is not created by silence or solitude alone. It is built through inner resolve, moment by moment, decision by decision, encounter by encounter. And it all starts with a declaration: I will not be emotionally managed by others. It is easy to be calm in a quiet room, but the test of real peace is presence in chaos. The mark of control is how you hold yourself when others are losing themselves. And the only way to pass that test is to refuse Flatly refuse to allow anyone else to write the script of your emotional reality. But this does not mean you become disconnected or cold. It means you stay connected to what matters most, your clarity, your purpose, your power. You stop reacting just to be right, and you start choosing to remain rooted. You stop needing to explain yourself to every critic, and you start recognizing that silence is often the loudest answer. You no longer feel compelled to carry emotional burdens that do not belong to you. You see a rude person and you choose empathy, not offense. You see ignorance and you choose detachment, not fury. You see conflict and you choose timing, not impulse. You become deliberate. And the most important part of it all is this. You make the decision once. You do not bargain with it. You do not revisit it depending on the day. You make it and then you enforce it. Like a soldier stands guard over a gate, you stand guard over your peace, not because you are fragile, but because you are focused. Not because you fear others, but because you respect yourself. You do not announce this decision to the world. You show it through presence. You carry it in the way you walk, speak, and listen. You show it when you smile, not because life is perfect, but because you have chosen what no one else can choose for you, to remain the master of your internal world. Anger is not your enemy. It is not something to fear, suppress, or deny. It is energy, raw, concentrated, untamed energy. And like all energy, it can either destroy or create. It depends entirely on what you do with it. Most people squander it. They let anger turn into blind reaction, into words they regret, into actions they must apologize for, into stress that eats away at their health, relationships, and ambition. But the few who rise above the common crowd learn something the average person never understands. Anger is fuel. It is a tool. It is a signal. It is potential in disguise. To transmute anger is not to erase it. It is to elevate it. It is to recognize that beneath every surge of fury is a message, sometimes of injustice, sometimes of truth, sometimes of wounded pride. Anger often arrives when your values are challenged, when your time is wasted, when your efforts are disrespected. These are not trivial things, but reacting without thought only deepens the problem. Anger unchecked is like fire in a forest. It consumes everything, including the one who lit it. But channeled, directed, tempered with discipline and purpose, it becomes a controlled burn that clears the path forward. You must begin to look at your anger as a reservoir of strength, waiting for a command. You do not let it command you. You command it. Every time you feel it rise, you must ask, where can I use this? What is it pointing to? What can I build with this fire instead of burning down what I've already built? When someone insults you, when you feel betrayed, overlooked, doubted, your immediate instinct may be retaliation. But what if, instead of reacting outward, you turned inward and said, good, more fuel? What if every slight became an additional weight on the bar, making you stronger? What if every attack was silently added to the list of reasons you will rise? Then anger stops being a weakness. It becomes a power source. It becomes a moment of decision. Let on. History is filled with those who used anger as a force for greatness. Not those who raged in the streets without direction, but those who turned their inner fire into a cause, into a business, into a discipline, into unshakable resolve. When told they were not good enough, they trained harder. When pushed down, they stood up with more clarity. When denied, they built their own doors. What separates them from those who self-destruct is one thing: transmutation, a conversion of emotional heat into deliberate actions. To transmute anger is to delay expression in favor of transformation. It means taking the time to ask yourself, what would a weak version of me do right now, and what would the strong version do? The weak version lashes out, posts a petty reply, gets in the last word. The strong version goes silent, recalibrates, then works. The strong version doesn't need to announce revenge. It lets results be the reply. The strong version feels everything, but is moved only by purpose, not impulse. But make no mistake, this is a practice. It is not a one-time shift. It is a decision you make again and again in the moment of heat. At first, it's hard. You may bite your tongue. You may walk away feeling unresolved. But each time you do it, you strengthen a muscle most people never develop: emotional control, energy conversion, strategic response. You must understand the cost of unmanaged anger. It drains your focus. It destroys your image. It can undo years of progress in seconds. One poor reaction can define how others see you. One impulsive move can sabotage a relationship, a business opportunity, or a carefully built reputation. The temporary relief of release is not worth the long-term damage it often leaves in its wake. Instead, you must build a ritual of conversion. When the anger strikes, you breathe, you observe, you let the sensation rise without acting. Then you write, or you train, or you plan, you move your body, you shape your thoughts. You don't push the emotion down, you push it forward into something constructive. You take the energy and decide exactly where it will go. Maybe it goes into a workout so intense it leaves your doubts on the gym floor. Maybe it fuels the best night of deep work you've had all year. Maybe it becomes the fire behind a bold move you've delayed for too long. A business you launch, a book you begin, a conversation you finally have. The anger becomes the push, not the poison. And in this you learn the most powerful truth of all: anger can be a teacher. It shows you where you still feel insecure. It shows you what you still care deeply about. It shows you what must be protected, improved, or changed. But only if you step back and listen. Only if you are bigger than the flame that wants to consume you. Only if you are willing to pause and redirect. There will always be moments in life that frustrate you. People will disappoint you. Systems will fail you. Circumstances will insult your sense of fairness. That will never change. But what can change, what must change, is your relationship to these moments. You can let them make you bitter, or you can let them make you better. You can let them stir vengeance, or you can let them shape vision. Anger does not need to be buried or feared. It must be wielded. It must be forged in the fire of intention and poured into the mold of focused, unwavering action. Every agitation you feel, every irritation, every flash of impatience, every spike of emotional tension is a test, a precise, tailored, moment-by-moment test of your inner strength, your self-control, your clarity, and your commitment to mastery. It is not random. It is not meaningless. It is an invitation to rise. Most people fail this test without even knowing they're being examined. They walk into their day expecting ease, demanding comfort, and assuming the world should comply with their desires. And the moment life does what life always does, interrupts, delays, disrespects, or challenges, they react. Without pause, without thought, they snap. They complain, they lash out, they surrender their peace to whatever force is loudest in the moment, and in doing so, they miss the deeper lesson. Agitation is not a punishment. It is a proving ground. You cannot grow without resistance. You cannot claim patience without being pushed to the edge of it. You cannot call yourself disciplined if your control vanishes the second someone tries your nerves. Agitation is the pressure that reveals your current capacity. It is life saying, "Here, let's see what you've really built. Let's test the quality of your calm, the depth of your awareness, the strength of your emotional discipline. Every small annoyance is an opportunity to choose differently than you used to. And in that moment of choice, you expand. The traffic jam is a test. The rude comment is a test. The slow service, the missed call, the messy room, the last-minute change in plans, these are not random nuisances. They are training sessions for the part of you that wants to stay sharp, calm, and unshakable. Life doesn't care how spiritual, intellectual, or powerful you say you are. It will keep sending you the same test until you stop reacting like a beginner and start responding like a master. Agitation pulls the curtain back. It shows you what still has control over your state. It reveals the cracks in your composure, the gaps in your awareness. And when you learn to see it this way, you no longer resent it. You welcome it. Because now it's not about the person who cut you off, or the client who wasted your time, or the person who failed to appreciate your effort. It's about your response. Take a course in self-development. Declare what you want to do in life. If you stay centered, or whether you hand over your power once again. Every time you pass the test, every time you pause instead of react, observe instead of attack, breathe instead of explode, you reinforce a new standard for yourself. And passing the test doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you recognize the surge of feeling and decide what to do with it. You step between stimulus and response. And in that space, you build strength. You build the kind of internal control that most people never develop because they're too busy justifying their outbursts. But this path requires vigilance. It requires you to live with the mindset that you are always in training, that the world is not happening to you, it is happening for your refinement. It is shaping your character through friction. It is giving you the precise ingredients needed to build mastery, not through ease, but through confrontation with your lower impulses. When you take this mindset seriously, even the smallest moment becomes sacred. The person who interrupts you mid-sentence is a test of your presence. The coworker who takes credit for your idea is a test of your grace under fire. The child who won't listen, the stranger who bumps into you, the deadline that moves without warning. Every one of them is a mirror held up to your current level of emotional maturity. You either react and repeat, or you pause and evolve. And this is not about becoming passive. It's about becoming powerful. Anyone can shout. Anyone can explode. Anyone can vent their frustration outward like an emotional grenade. But to sit in the heat of agitation and not be moved by it, to hold the line and remain clear, present, and rooted, that is a higher skill. That is the mark of a disciplined mind. Mastery does not mean you never feel irritation. It means irritation no longer dictates your behavior. It means you've created a space inside yourself that is larger than your initial emotional response. It means you've trained yourself to delay expression long enough to decide who you actually want to be in that moment. You must begin to expect the test. Wake up each day and know it's coming, not in grand, obvious ways, but in subtle moments. Someone will say the wrong thing. Something will take longer than it should. Someone will question your intentions, push your buttons, doubt your capabilities, and in that moment the real question will emerge. Not what will they do, but who will you be? Will you be the version of yourself that reacts based on ego, pride, and habit? Or will you be the version that chooses based on vision, power, and maturity? Because every agitation is not just a test. It's also a crossroads. It's a moment when you decide whether to repeat an old pattern or forge a new one. And in the repetition of those decisions, you write the story of your personal evolution. So the next time something disturbs your peace, do not ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this here to teach me? What muscle is being strengthened? What part of my character is being shaped? Because once you see agitation as a test, you stop being a victim of it. You become a student of it. And eventually you become a master in the very moments where you used to break. In a world of chaos, distraction, and emotional volatility, there is no greater asset than a mind that cannot be shaken. To develop a definite mental fortress is not a poetic idea. It is a necessity for anyone who wants to rise above mediocrity, transcend the petty, and lead a life built on inner mastery. It means you no longer live at the mercy of circumstances, emotions, or the unpredictable behavior of others. You become the guardian of your mind, and no intruder, no insult, no disappointment, no temporary setback can enter without your permission. A mental fortress is not simply about being tough. It is not about faking strength or bottling up your feelings. It is about designing your internal world with such clarity, precision, and commitment that outside forces lose their ability to disturb your peace. It is about building walls where weakness once lived. Walls made of discipline, focus, values, and decision. This is not something that happens by accident. It must be forged consciously, daily, and with total seriousness. The first brick in your fortress is clarity. You must know who you are, what you believe, what you stand for, and where you are going. Without clarity, your mind is open ground, vulnerable to the opinions of others, the noise of society, and the endless pull of distractions. But when you are anchored in purpose, when you have a clearly defined mission for your life, then the small irritations and temporary disturbances lose their power. They may knock at the gate, but they are not let in. The second component is emotional discipline. Emotions are real. They carry energy and information, but if left unchecked, they can destroy everything you've built. To develop a mental fortress, you must become the observer of your emotions, not their prisoner. You must train yourself to notice your reactions without acting on them impulsively. Every time you delay an emotional reaction in favor of a deliberate response, you are reinforcing the strength of your fortress. Mental strength is not found in suppression. It is found in mastery. You feel the emotion, you acknowledge it, but you do not bow to it. You use it. You channel it. You decide what it means and where it will go. This kind of control is rare. That's why it's powerful. Most people let every passing mood become their commander. They give their energy to every little offense, every minor inconvenience. But those who live from a mental fortress do not hand over the keys so easily. Another essential pillar is selective attention. Your attention is the gate of your fortress. What you focus on determines what grows. If you constantly feed your mind with negativity, noise, and nonsense, don't be surprised when your mental state reflects that chaos. To build a strong mind, you must be ruthless about what you allow in. This means being selective about the conversations you entertain, the content you consume, and the environment you place yourself in. You do not let gossip take root in your mind. You do not waste hours absorbing outrage designed to keep you distracted. You feed your mind with truth, with principles, with discipline, with vision. You read what strengthens you. You listen to what elevates you. You surround yourself with people who respect your growth. You do not open the gates to every opinion that knocks, because you understand that your peace is not up for negotiation. Then comes mental repetition, the discipline of rehearsal. No fortress is built in a day. It is built brick by brick, day after day. The mind must be trained the same way the body is. Through repetition, through challenge, through resistance. This means daily practices, visualization of your best self, affirmations of your core values, and consistent self-talk that reinforces your identity. You do not wait until crisis strikes to build mental strength. You build it in times of calm, so that when the storm arrives, you are already prepared. Another vital piece is non-attachment to praise or criticism. If you build your mind on the approval of others, your fortress has no foundation. One negative comment will shake you, one rejection will crumble your confidence. You must decide that your value is not negotiable, that your vision does not rise and fall with the applause of the crowd. You remain steady in your path, unmoved by the temporary highs and lows of public opinion. To protect this fortress, you also need rituals of solitude, quiet moments where you return to center, check in with your thoughts, and recalibrate your direction. In solitude, you sharpen your awareness, you reflect, you reset. You reinforce the boundaries of your mental world. This is where you build the inner silence that cannot be disturbed by outside noise. The mind is either your greatest servant or your most dangerous enemy. Without a definite mental fortress, your energy leaks out through every crack, through every triggered emotion, every distraction, every unguarded reaction. But once the fortress is in place, your energy is yours. Your thoughts are chosen. Your responses are calculated. You stop being reactive and start being strategic. And the beauty of a strong mind is that it doesn't just protect you, it empowers you. It frees you to focus, to create, to build, to lead. It allows you to face adversity with composure, to navigate uncertainty with poise, and to rise above the noise that pulls most people down. When you've developed a mental fortress, you no longer fear challenge because you know you are fortified from within. You no longer seek escape from the world. You face it fully equipped and unshakable.